Korean armor is the armor used traditionally in ancient times in combat, be it in peace during war, or in other battlefield encounters by Koreans or those fighting in Korea, or Koreans fighting overseas. Examples of armor from the Korean Peninsula date back to at least the Korean Three Kingdoms period. Depending on the tactical situation, Korean armor also included horse armor and other kinds of early anti-ballistic armor before the 20th century. Introduction. Korean armor was largely focused on missile warfare, since the mountainous terrain made field battle relatively rarer than in other countries and taking fortifications was the typical way of warfare. Instead, metallic armor was relatively widespread during the Three Kingdoms period due to constant warfare, but its usage declined when Korea was united into one. By the Joseon dynasty, common provincial troops were equipped with padded armor while central units could afford metallic armor. Korean warfare was often based on harsh terrain and the firepower imposed on the enemy from high ground, usually in the form of composite bows and, later, gunpowder weapons, while cavalry superiority was favored against the constant Jurchen raids during the Joseon dynasty, fighting against much larger forces as China and Japan. Koreans favored mobility and range tactics, which limited the reliance upon vastly armored units despite a strong inclusion of melee training. Korean armor during the Korean Three Kingdoms period consisted of two major styles: a Lamellar armor sharing the style of Chinese armor at the time and the armor of the steppe hordes, and plate armor, found in the Gaia Confederation and its vicinity. The lamellae were often of hard materials such as bronze, iron, bone, or stiffened leather. Plates were always of iron, steel or bronze. During later periods, Korean armor also included forms of brigandine, chainmail, and scale armor, due to the cost of iron and steel equipment that were often too high for peasant conscripts. Helmets were not always full steel and stiffened leather caps were not uncommon. Korean armor pieces, from top to bottom, typically consisted of a helmet or a cap, a heavy main armor coat with pauldrons or shoulder and underarm protection, leg coverings, groin protection, and limb protection. In terms of armament, Korean militaries employed heavy infantry equipped with swords or spears along with shields, pikemen, archers, crossbowmen, and versatile heavy cavalry capable of horse archery. Korean naval warfare saw large deployments of heavy wooden shields as a means of protecting personnel on the top decks of Korean ships. It is suggested that during a period of rule under the Mongol Empire, Korea began to see a number of changes to its military, some of which endured through the Joseon era that followed the end of the Goryeo dynasty in 1392. Japanese paintings of Korean Mongol warriors during the two Mongol invasions of Japan show Mongol forces made largely of Korean and Chinese conscripts with shields and Mongol-style armor elements. The shields do not appear to have lasted as an influence, but examples of Joseon-era Korean armor often show adoptive influences from the Mongol period. After the rise of the Joseon dynasty, Korean combat armor saw change once from mainly using chainmail, plaited mail and lamellar to mostly brigandine. Three Kingdoms period. The best preserved armors from the Three Kingdoms period originate almost exclusively from the Gaia Confederacy. The armor from Gaia are the best examples of plate armor from ancient times, rivaling those of Mediterranean basin from the same period. These Gaia-style plate armor are categorized into three types. One is made by joining vertical steel bands to form a single plate, another by joining horizontal bands, and the other by putting small triangular steel pieces together. The first type is found in Gaia and Silla, while most examples for the other two are found in Gaia, but some have been found in northern Bakia. Similar styles have been also found in Kyushu and Honshu, Japan. Goguryeo armor was a type of lamellar armor made of small steel plates woven together with cord. Ancient tombs of the Jeogseram district of Hwangho-dong, Gyeongju, North Gyeongsang uncovered the first example in 2009. Goguryeo murals found in North Korea also shed light on how Goguryeo armor looked like. Joseon Dynasty armor. Armor from the Joseon Dynasty can be roughly classified into two time periods: the early dynasty and the late dynasty. The exact transition point from the early to late dynasty armor is still unconcluded, but appears to be around the Imjin War and the Manchu invasion of Korea, the two and only total wars that Korea faced during the Joseon dynasty. Throughout both periods, however, padded armor was popular among the common soldiers. The Joseon dynasty required peasant conscripts to provide their own equipment, and padded armor offered body protection at a low price. Metallic armor was largely seen from units stationed in the capital, which formed the main striking power of the Joseon dynasty's land forces. In the early dynasty, chainmail and plaited mail that were used during the late Goryeo dynasty remained in usage, while lamellar armor, the traditional form of Korean armor, also persisted, with some influences from the Mongols received during the 13–14th centuries. A full metallic armor set was composed of a helmet bearing much resemblance with regards to European kettle hats, with attached neck defenses of mail and lamellae, a body armor reaching down to the thighs and knees, and a set of shoulder guards which protected the upper arm as well. In the late dynasty, brigandine became the primary Korean metallic armor and often reached below the knees when worn, and the helmet assumed a conical shape. The rest did not change much, as the dynasty did not experience any war after the Manchu invasions. In the mid-19th century, however, there was an attempt to develop anti-ballistic armor made by sewing sheets of textiles along with cotton and combining them into a thick vest as a response towards the overwhelming firepower of rifles fielded by Western powers such as France and the United States. Although this attempt was partially in line with the current method of producing anti-ballistic vests, it does not appear to have proved effective.